Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. I wanted to talk to you today about your hybrid or composite painting. We're going to be completing this in acrylic, but we'll be beginning with sketches, and I wanted to tell you how to begin those today. So in class, you're going to notice that we have three distinct stations, which we will be generating drawings from, and then we'll be pulling all of these drawings together and combining them to make one finished painting. The three stations are going to be as follows. The first place that you might notice that you can work will be our still life. You will be setting up still life in class today. I'll be helping you and modifying it to make sure that it's a nice dynamic composition. And then students will be doing drawings from a section, one piece, or the totality of the still life. When you find an image that you think is compelling or interesting enough, I want you to try and complete a full value study from that. So we want to go from, on a value scale from 1 to 10, we want to make sure that we're including all of those values to the best of our ability. After we do our sketch or study from the still life, then we can go over the second station that you might want to visit is our book or magazine station. We have an assortment of different magazines that you can choose from. We've got some really great art magazines. And what I'd like you to do there is to go through and find an interesting image that you would like to use for your painting. I think it's interesting to note that we looked at the surrealists and pop artists like Jasper Johns and James Rosenquist and Robert Rauschenberg. And one thing that these artists did was they chose imagery that generally wasn't normally seen together. We called this juxtaposition, or putting images together that creates another term we call is cognitive dissonance, or like a break with reality. So I want to encourage you to try and find imagery that is juxtaposed with one another, that doesn't normally fit together, because I think that's going to give your painting a more interesting sense of mystery or ambiguity, and that's something we can really play up with this piece. So the final station, or the final thing that you can work on, or that final piece will be a unique personal image, and this one is up to each individual student to determine. So you can bring in an object from home. Obviously make sure that you're not going to damage it and that it's something you're comfortable with having in the studio. We can also use 2D or flat photographs to work from. Again, I'd really encourage you to find something that's going to be symbolic, metaphoric, or meaningful to you, that's going to add another layer of meaning, or so meaning. I think that's important for you, so that it's interesting for you. Okay, in addition to the three stations, again, I'd like you to come up with a finalized study or sketch, which is going to be, a drawing with a fairly realized value scale. So we're going to have a more fully realized drawing. In addition to that, we're going to then cut out the objects or the images, and then I'm going to give you a gridded sheet of paper where you can play around with moving those objects around to come up with a strong composition. After you've settled on a strong composition, then what we're going to be doing is completing a finalized study in graphite. So you'll do a finished drawing in full value of those three objects put together. And now on this drawing, the main thing I'd like you to focus on is going to be those empty spaces between the objects. We'll call this negative space or transition space. Now there's a couple things you can consider here. We can do patterns, textures, gradients, or solid color fills. Another thing that might be interesting is, could you incorporate text in some way in the background? Now that's going to be a really tricky element to work with, because the viewer is going to want to be able to read it. So I would suggest maybe obscuring the text in some way, maybe zooming in or cropping in on that text so that it's not easily read, so that it becomes, again, a little more mysterious or ambiguous. After we've finalized the final study, and we've got all three elements arranged how we would like to have it arranged on the paper, then I would suggest that you consider your color palette. Now, I always tell my students that we want to limit the amount of color that you put into a painting, because if we use an entire palette, which is the full spectrum of color, it tends to look really busy, and it's difficult for us to kind of know what the artist wanted us to look at, focus on, or emphasize. So if we restrict our color to 3, 4, or 5 colors plus value, so we can add white for tints, gray for tones, and we can add complements for shades, I think we can get a really nice full range of color and that to be able to describe form, but also have it feel cohesive and unified. So 3, 4, or 5 colors. We'll do a small zoomed in section of your painting just to test out that color scheme and make sure that we're comfortable with it. And then after that, we are going to determine our canvas size. You'll just let me know one of the 3 canvas sizes that we have available. We will order your stretcher bars. Once we get those in, we'll be building your stretchers, priming our canvas, and getting ready for the underpainting, which will be another video. So just to review, our hybrid painting is going to be based in the style of some surrealist or pop artists. We're going to be taking a look at a graph on our worksheet that's going to help us determine how literal or abstract we want each image to go. And there's pluses and minuses to going too extreme on either end. In addition to that, we're going to make those 3 sketches. We'll put the 3 sketches together onto a graph to work out our composition. After we work out composition, we do a finalized study in graphite. From that study in graphite, we'll do a small detail testing our color palette, and then we stretch, prime, and complete our underpainting. Really looking forward to what you guys come up with for this project. I think it's a great project. I got it from Mark Brandow at ACMA in Beaverton, so thanks to him. And let's see what we can do. Have a great day.